Hello, my name is Shay Klingbill, and I'm the Alaska State Director for MUFON. One of the topics we were asked to discuss is the Rendlesham UFO event. Now, this is a very famous and extremely interesting case that you may have heard of. It took place in Suffolk, England, on December 26th through December 28th, 1980, on RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters, which is twin USAF bases. This has also been called Britain's Roswell. On these twin bases, the USAF 81st Tactical Fighter Wing was being hosted, and nuclear weapons were also being stored there under the highest secrecy, although this was denied at the time. But one can perhaps understand this, as it was the Cold War and no one wanted to be responsible for inadvertently sparking off World War III. So this was a very secure base. It had heavy radar coverage, heightened security, and frequent alerts, which created an environment where unexplained aerial or other phenomena intrusions were taken very, very seriously. Many of the people on this base had nuclear security clearances, and they were trained observers. Personnel that were involved in this event were Lieutenant Colonel Charles Hutt, Sergeant James Peniston, Airman John Burroughs, and multiple security police and patrol officers. So now I will break down the timeline of events to give you a look back into what perhaps occurred in those woods of Suffolk so many years ago. On the first night, which was December 26, 1980, patrol witnesses reported bright lights descending into the forest. So obviously this could be a security breach, so initial responders that included Peniston and Burroughs headed out to take a look. Once they have reached the forest, they observe a triangular-shaped craft with strange glyphs, a metal surface, and bright glowing lights. One can only imagine what they thought at that moment as they saw this. And then Peniston later claimed direct contact, describing that the craft felt warm and he was able to feel etched symbols. The craft then departs in a flash, and animals in the forest were also disturbed, and reports came in from the surrounding area that local farm animals were thrown into a panic. No one really knew what to think, so reports were filed, and business resumed as usual. The next night, December 27th, there was more activity around the base that was unusual, and strange lights were once again observed. And also, things seemed to come closer to the nuclear storage area, as beams of light were also being reported being shown in to where they were keeping the weapons. That would not have been a good feeling for the security, patrol officers, and those in charge on this base. Which brings us to night number 3, December 28th. Lieutenant Colonel Hutt is not happy with what's going on the base and the general anxiety amongst the troops, and he decides he's going to go out and debunk the rumors. So he gets a group together and out they go. But on this night, they witness bright lights maneuvering between the trees, and they could not explain that, and a red glowing orb that ended up splitting into multiple pieces. And a craft fired light beams towards the ground and towards the weapons facility. Hutt records audio on a microcassette, which is now known as the Hutt tape. And you can actually hear this, and he sounds very upset and very full of wonder all at the same time. So on his official Hutt memo, there is an official Air Force document titled Unexplained Lights, and it summarizes the lights, the ground impression, the radiation readings, and who was there to witness at the time. So physical evidence, you may ask. Well, there was 3 triangular ground depressions of landing marks. There was elevated radiation readings that were recorded with official equipment. And some disagree here. Some say that it was above background, and others say it was only marginal. We also have the HUD tape with live audio documenting what they saw, the radiation measurements, their excited reactions, and the sudden appearances and disappearances of the anomalous lights. And here, the most famous line of all, "It's moving, it's moving." So, early MOD, Ministry of Defense notes, downplayed the incident, which, knowing governments as we do, is to be expected. Later released under the Freedom of Information Act, these things revealed that some files were missing, which makes me wonder what was in those missing files that they went missing. Private correspondence was also revealed that showed concern for what was going on, and also radar anomalies were documented in nearby facilities. However, some of that is still classified. One can hope that maybe in the future it will be declassified, and we can go into that a little bit more. So, witness testimony. And witness testimony is highly important in UFO investigations. James Pennington claimed direct contact with the craft and says he touched the raised symbols and later on received a binary code download in his mind. Years later, this binary code was translated by researchers. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This research showed that it was coordinates of global ancient sites, and words like exploration of humanity also came up. Now that is pretty controversial, but is also highly discussed in this circle. And John Burroughs. Well, John Burroughs firmly believes he experienced a close encounter. Unfortunately, he later developed medical issues. And in 2015, the U.S. government finally approved his VA disability for injuries suffered during the incident. In that, official language acknowledged UAP exposure. Now that is one of the only such government recognitions in UFO history. So, to get some more information on John Burroughs and what was going on with him medically after his experience, I would highly recommend the Truth Hunter series by Linda Moulton Howe. She talked to him, and it goes into his struggle with trying to get the VA to pay for his treatment and give him some help. So I think that series is available on Gaia, or you can rent it on Amazon Prime, but it's out there, and it's well worth the watch. And then Charles Hutt. Well, he was frustrated that the Ministry of Defense was downplaying this whole thing, and he states the base radar tracked an object performing impossible maneuvers. And he claims that the whole situation simply covered up the seriousness of the event. Multiple sources, including civilian radar techs, have claimed that objects appeared, disappeared, and moved at high speeds. There was at least one near vertical ascent reported, and all their logs showed unusual activity that night. And as usual, some of this data remains classified. So there are many theories about what may have been experienced that night. One theory is that it was extraterrestrial visitation, because there were flight characteristics being shown that defy known aircraft, including rapid acceleration, hovering, silent maneuvers, and military night activity similar to structured reconnaissance. It could be perhaps time travel or interdimensional hypothesis, and that theory is suggested by Pennington's claims in the binary code content. It's speculative, but still a popular theory. Or was it a military black project? Arguments for that include proximity to nuclear weapons, testing reactions of base personnel, and experimental aircraft plausible during the early stealth era. However, that argument doesn't exactly hold water, as later on they never actually told the base that it was a test, and some witnesses reported intimidation and others were discouraged from speaking publicly. Also, another controversy is that Pennington's binary code recall happened years later, and Hutt and Pennington differ on some details. But that in and of itself actually, for me, lends credibility to this report, because if a witness has the exact same recall as another witness, they may have been practiced together and not telling the truth. So different remembered details actually lends more credibility to this. Some skeptics do claim that embellishments occurred over the decades, but that is hard to either prove or deny. The missing mod files is very, very mysterious. The mod claims it was destroyed during routine housekeeping, and unfortunately no backups exist. So, in new testimonies, former radar operators have come forward since 2010 to share their experiences, and new supporting witnesses from the USAF security police do confirm strange aircraft activity. And John Burroughs' legal victory with the VA is significant because the VA publicly acknowledged UAP involvement. However, some of his medical files remain sealed. So, UAP researchers consider Rendlesham a multi-phenomena event. There was light phenomena, technological craft, possible radiation effects, and electromagnetic interference. This case highly matters and is very credible because it occurred over multiple nights. It occurred and was experienced by multiple trained military witnesses. There were physical traces, there were official documents, there were audio recordings. There is that government secrecy that we all know and love, and missing files. Not to mention Burroughs' medical effects acknowledged by the VAs. Based on all of this, it stands as one of the strongest structured craft UFO cases in modern history. It is a pretty incredible case, and we hope that in the future more of those documents will become declassified. I will be putting some more articles and a few videos that you may find interesting in the comment section in our Facebook group, and we'd love to know what you think. Please feel free to post any articles or videos or any thoughts or opinions that you may have in the comment section as well. Thank you so much. Until next time.